Welcome to the shooting show. This week, David Virtue puts on his best rough shoot for a party of guns from the Channel Islands, plus Byron's on the bench with the Browning Maral. We've asked David Virtue to put on the best day of shotgun sport he can think of. It turns out that involves rather a lot. This is a grouse shoot and a rough day rolled into one.
You can shoot behind, unless they're up in the sky and they're safe. Okay? Yeah. Grouse, didn't he? He's all shot grouse before.
No, that's the first time.
Oh!
You got virgin.
Yeah, like
virgin on the moor.
Fucking blood in the day, yeah?
Virgins on the moor.
Yeah. Amazing the speed they pick up. As soon as they're in shot in front, get them shot. Okay? That's what I like.
As if that wasn't enough, the guests are a group of guns who've come all the way from Guernsey to sample some Scottish sport. First up, it's grouse.
Why such a long journey? Why have you come all the way up to Scotland to come shooting?
Just basically to get a bit of variety and get some good shooting.
You don't have much shooting back in Guernsey?
Not a lot, bit of woodcock, bit of pigeon. Used to be quite a few rabbit, but there's not much at the moment. So we need to come away to get a decent bit of shooting. If you just do pheasant or partridge, it's okay, but sooner have a variety.
The guns are in line for the first drive. For many of the guns, this is their first ever opportunity to shoot grouse. It could be a moment they'll never forget. Anticipation continues to mount, and eventually the beaters flush a sizable covey. This kind of shooting is the real deal, which means the bag won't be a massive one, for the numbers will be swelled by some ground game too. The drive soon ends, and the Guernsey boys are taken to their newfound sport so much that they're already arguing over who shot what.
There's another one over the back.
That was a good one. Oh, you had the brace, Colin. It was a cracker. You had the brace in front, did you?
I missed him with the first one. No, I had one in front and one behind.
It was necking, wasn't it?
There's another, the one behind over the back.
Pattern of a second.
The good-humoured arguments are cut short as it's time for the next drive. We grab another handful of Ely high flyers and line out. Soon we're safely ensconced in a butt and ready for the action, but we've picked the wrong spot and only a single bird comes past our position. Our chosen gun swings through and eagerly awaits more of the same, but that's all he'll get. The bag at the end of the drive reveals that mostly ground game was taken here. There's one more drive to go. Not all the Guernsey guns have shot a grouse yet. This is their only chance. It's a long way to come to draw a blank. Here, we're in luck. As the beaters push on, the grouse start to come over our position thick and fast. We filled our boots with the cameras there, but are the Guernsey boys enjoying it as much as we are?
It was my first day on driven grouse and it was quite an experience.
And you got a couple yourself?
3 I shot.
3. Brilliant. And something you'd want to do again?
Definitely do it again next year.
First time on grouse, I didn't get one at all. So going.
You were one of the unlucky
Yeah,
few.
there's 3 of us, yeah. Only got a couple of shots off on the last drive on that one, but yeah, it was good. Different, like I say, a little bit different to what I was expecting for my first time anyway, so Yeah.
Try it again?
Yes, yeah, definitely.
It's all on the day. If you're shooting well on the day, you're all right. If you have a bad day, well, the lip's hanging out.
The best thing about this day of Scottish shotgun sport is that it's not over yet. David instructs us to stoke up the guns once more in preparation for a rough shoot. With a huge variety of game and wildfowl on offer, David sets out the plan.
About 40 yards away off the end of the wall, eh?
No, but how far that away?
How do you mean?
No,
I would say 40
from the
yards
fence.
off the end of
Off
the
the
wall.
fence.
40 yards off the fence.
Yeah.
The teal of that will probably come first and try and then get loaded up quite quickly. There might be an odd pheasant after, so okie doke. Good luck. Most of the stuff they're doing here is wild stuff, so you know, for teal, mallard, widgeon, you've got all the variety ducks. You've got moorland on your doorstep really if you want to go up for grouse or white hares or snipe, woodland for pheasant and woodcock and pigeon. So you've got, you know, so many species of game that you can do stalking at night as well if you want to, you know, go for a roll. So there's so much here that you've got within a relatively small area. I think folk just like the variety. It's just something different away from shooting pheasants all the time or partridges or whatever. It just gives them, you know, and they like to come rough shooting and hunting their dogs, and you don't know what's got to get up. Whether it's a rabbit, is it a snipe, is it a woodcock? It's something different, and you know, it's all good food. It's all for the table. All these guys will take all that home with them and eat it. So that does them for the rest of the year.
There's quarry in abundance here, mostly mallard and teal, but also pheasant, pigeon and even snipe. But the fast-flying birds won't make it easy for our guns. It's time to see what they can do. It's a successful shoot so far, with the bag consisting of mostly duck, but David wants to get 2 more beats in before the close of play. We managed to stop him for a minute to ask him just how much work goes into these flight ponds.
Every year or so I'll make another pond and you'll dig a pond out, but a lot of the ponds you're making it just a certain size for certain types of ducks and a certain depth. I mean, your teal and that, you're only wanting 2 or 3 inches really shallows, and maybe a wee bit deeper around in the middle for the mallard. Hopefully put a couple of islands in the middle, or an island at least for nesting, so they've got some areas there so they can get, you know, safe for foxes or whatever for nesting during the summer, and feed it with what you've got, some barley or whatever you've got to feed it with, and see how it comes on. But no, if you get the pond in the right position in a flight line or off a stream or in an area that, you know, it's frequented with ducks anyway, it'll usually work.
And it's certainly working here. As we rejoin our chosen gun, he's presented with a golden opportunity. The bag is soon filled once more, but David has a surprise in store. The boggy terrain here is the perfect place to find snipe, and we embark on a swift walk up in a bid to get this distinctive wader in the bag. Some fast reactions from our guns managed to bring down a couple. Then David takes us to a wooded area for one last beat. All we want is one good bit of shooting footage to round off the day, but it looks like most of the action is taking place down the line. Finally, we get what we're after.
Yes, you'll find, I mean, in England there's marshland. It's probably marshland after it's had cattle or sheep onto it, and you know, the cattle will churn it up a bit the woodcock and the snipe seem to love that sort of area. Just they get, you know, they can get in about it and get the feeding in there, or anything with just some, you know, damp areas, you know, wet areas, rough areas and corners of the field can often attract snipe. It doesn't take a lot.
If you could only shoot one bird for your whole season, what would it be?
Teal, I think. I think teal. I think teal.
Spot for teal.
I think teal, just the way they are, they're just magical, and you see them flying about, and they're just a magical little duck. They really are, and you know, very good eating and tricky to shoot. Teal and maybe woodcock just after that.
Well, you picked two now.
As we tot up the bag, the Guernsey boys give us the final verdict.
Right, variety, a few pheasants, put up some woodcock.
And the ducks
teal.
are good, weren't
Ducks are good, yeah. Plenty mallard, I think one teal, a few geese on the pun, but I think they managed to elude us yesterday off the pun. But we made up for this morning. Had some geese this morning. Never seen it before, never done it, never experienced it. It was very, very well worth the effort.
And you'd want to do it again?
Absolutely, yeah. No, very good fun. We looked after. Yeah.
And you're going to be coming up again?
Next year we'll have it booked up before we leave.
Already?
Yeah.
Perfect.
David Virtue and the boys among the rough stuff there. And now it's the Shooting Show news.
This is the Shooting Show news. Election season has begun, and BASC is making sure the voices of shooters are heard in the run-up to the 7th of May. The organisation has launched a campaign to highlight the value of shooting to politicians, sending MPs an infographic to hit home the key facts about how much the shooting sports provide to the economy and the countryside. This follows the establishment of a website that lets you check your candidates' views on shooting. Check it out for yourself at politics.basc.org.uk. Game shooters are spending more on their sport than ever before, a game shooting survey has revealed. The Shooting Census 2014, conducted by Stratton Parker for Guns on Pegs, reveals that game shooters spend £5,700 a year on average. 96% of game shooters are male, 71% are over 46 years old, and 43% are prepared to travel more than 200 miles to a shoot. The average cost of a peg is £619. The consultation on licence fee increases has closed, but there's still some uncertainty about just how high fees will rise. The government has proposed a new shotgun licence fee of £62 and a firearms licence fee of £79.50. But the Labour Party has said it will aim for full cost recovery if it comes to power, which could mean fees of anywhere up to £196. BASC has written to Shadow Chancellor Ed Balls asking him to clarify Labour's position. The Clay Shooting Handicap Classic is bigger than ever this year, and now it's just 3 weeks away. Prizes this year include a 1984 Rolls-Royce Silver Spirit and a Browning Heritage shotgun. The competition's handicap system puts less experienced shooters on an even footing with the greats of today's game. Last year, the overall winner was 74-year-old Alan Payne. The competition runs for 6 days and starts on the 2nd of February. And finally, the Great Britain shotgun team has been announced for the first 3 World Cups of 2015. In a GB setup that no longer includes Peter Wilson or Richard Folds, it's Matt Coward-Holly, Matt French, Tim Neal and Steve Scott who take the reins in double trap. Other big names including Charlotte Curwood, Amber Hill, Sarah Wixie and Rory Warlow make up what is a very strong GB lineup. Catch all the action in Clay Shooting magazine. That was the Shooting Show news.
As a first rifle review of 2015, I've got a very special rifle to show you. It's one of the only rifles I think that I've tested that actually comes in a decent hard case. It's a Browning, it's the Browning Maral, and for those of you who have already seen it in the magazine, Tim Pilbeam did a review in Sporting Rifle a few months back. You also know that it has a rather unique feature in the way that it loads. So if I open up the case here, you will see that it's sitting in 2 pieces. Now, unlike a lot of other straight pulls on the market, like your Merkels and your Blazes, which are also break down and fit into rather compact cases for travelling, the Browning Maral disconnects around the pistol grip area, which means that the barrel stays fixed to the action, which obviously aids downrange accuracy, because it's another component which is part of the rigid shooting system, if you like, which isn't being disconnected. And the pistol grip can come and go as it pleases and not affect the accuracy at all. Of course, the downside of that, as you've probably already realised, is that this is not a switch barrel. In fact, it's available just in 4 calibers, and the caliber that I'll be testing today is a .308 Winchester. So it does slightly lag behind some of the competitors in terms of what it can do, because you can't change calibers so easily as you can do with the Merkel, as an example. Anyway, let me put the rifle together before we look any further. As you can see, you wouldn't really want to shoot it like that. So if I just go in here and get the butt out, the rather nicely grained bit of wood, and you just slot it on like this, then reach back into the box and grab the Allen key, you will notice that just behind the pistol cap here, there is a little Allen screw. And if I just rotate that there until it gets tight, it butts up nicely and just pulls that rear tang into the butt itself. Just with a nip up like that, that's it, and it's ready to go. Starting at the butt end of the rifle, you can see that we have, just where the pistol grip is, a cocking lever. 10 years ago, cocking lever would have been an alien concept to most people, but so many rifles these days have them. On the Maral, the cocking lever is quite an effort to apply. It really does require a considerable force to get it locked into position, and the little depressing button on the top to release it is not the most convenient in the world. A big minus point behind cocking levers is the inconvenience of applying them. Now, some are better than others. The Maral is particularly stiff, and an issue that I found using them in the real world is that if your hands are really cold and you're lying up on a hillside and it's sleeting down and you can barely feel your fingers, trying to apply that with considerable force is a real mission. From cocking lever to trigger, if we have a look at the trigger unit here, you can see that the remnants of the semi-automatic version of this rifle can be seen visually just behind the blade. This little button here would have been where the safety catch was that would block the trigger and prevent it from firing. The trigger blade itself is in gold, a little bit flashy, but shape-wise, yeah, it's fine. It sits alright on the finger with my hand on the pistol grip. The only downside really of the trigger is that it's not the crispest in the world. It has a very distinct, I wouldn't even call it a first pressure, but the blade moves into a stop position. And once it's moved into that stop position, you then encounter creep. Now, it is fairly noticeable. I'm not sure if it can be worked on. I didn't want to tinker too much and try and take the trigger unit out. It's not as straightforward as you would see in a traditional bolt-action rifle. And it doesn't seem to matter how many times I try it. I seem to always encounter just a tiny bit of creep. So that's something that needs to be looked at a little bit. From here, going forward, we get to the magazine. The magazine is a very straightforward design. It looks rather big and bulky, but that's only because it's got a large floor plate on it, which is made of some sort of synthetic material. But essentially, we've got a staggered stacking magazine, much in the same way as you would find in a lot of rifles, and that's all made out of metal components with the exception of the follower, which is in bright green, just in case you haven't noticed that the last round has been fired. You end up with quite a big gaping hole when you look in here and the magazine's out, and this actually gives us a chance to have a look at how the rifle works. Now, you'll notice if you look inside here, you can see how the bolt runs back and forward. You will also notice the 9 locking lugs of the bolt, which slide forward in a straight line, and as they engage the rear end of the receiver, they slide and cam round into place, with the rest of the telescoping sliding mechanism applying that final pressure. This is exactly the same way that a semi-automatic rifle would operate, and as I've already said before, it's a mechanism which has been tried and tested, and I can't see you ever really having any issue with it. One thing which is important to note, however, it's probably possible to see it on the camera, is that there's quite a lot in the way of lubrication in there. Now this is going to be very important in a rifle like this, just in the same way as with the semi-auto with all the moving components. You need to make sure it's lubricated for it to function correctly. There's a lot of sliding metal work in here, so it's not like a bolt action rifle which you can get away with running almost completely dry. You're going to want to read the instructions and see what Browning recommend and lubricate that as is appropriate. The last notable thing here is that if you've just fired your last round, or indeed you don't have anything in the magazine to start with, when you pull the bolt back, it's going to stay fixed in that position. And that's another throwback to the semi-auto roots. When the last round is ejected, the slide on the bolt would remain in its rearmost position. If you want to drop the bolt forward, you simply take the magazine out, just pull it back, you hear it make a little click, and the bolt will slide into place. The last thing to touch on before I show you how the rifle works internally is the barrel. We've got a semi-fluted barrel here. It's fluted from about halfway down. Of course, this does two things. One, cuts down on a little bit of weight. These are not particularly deep flutes, so you're really not saving much weight, but it all helps for the balance of the rifle, and it'll also aid barrel cool down. With a rifle like this, it's probably quite likely you're going to be rattling off a barrage of shots in quite quick succession. So that helps there. Towards the front, you got the fixed front sight, which of course is fully adjustable. And if we look at the very end, at the muzzle, you can see that the crown is recessed just for a bit of extra protection there. You could get this rifle threaded for a moderator, but to be honest, I think that it kind of gets away from what this rifle is all about. And if you can muster the control to shoot without it, I think you will enjoy this rifle a lot more. Now, removing the forestock is not something you would normally be doing. I'm only doing this really just to show you how it works. And with that removed, we can see here just how simple this is. If I pull the bolt back, you will notice this metal strip just here. Now that metal strip, for all intents and purposes, is a bit like a tape measure. Inside here we've got two rollers, and those roll this metal strip onto them, but they're continually under tension, and that is what pulls the bolt forward. So if I drop the magazine out and pull it back here, you can see them rolling up this whole slide, which of course is attached to the bolt and pulls it forward. And if I just do it with a little bit more energy and keep my fingers out of the way, you can see how it works. It's got a stop at the end there, which is cushioned to help temper the action and stop it damaging itself. And it's as simple as that. I've already had the chance to use this rifle quite a lot, and as I said in the introduction to this review, it has to be the most enjoyable rifle I think I've ever had the chance to shoot. It's just so addictive. You just want to keep on rattling rounds downrange, and it functioned without any flaws whatsoever, and really did make me want to get on a plane and over to Europe so that I could use it where it's intended, which is chasing driven game through the forest. Sticking a scope on it, which is easily done with the quick detach mounts, shooting groups without any effort, about 1.3, 1.4 inches, at 100 yards. I'm sure if I spent a little bit more time, put a few varieties of bullet weight through this 308, I could tighten that up. But you know what? I didn't really feel like it was necessary. That is perfectly acceptable for what I would use this rifle for. It's not going to be a long-range hunter. You're not going to be shooting at 400 yards with it. That is not what this rifle is about. Everything from driven game to your standard stalking distances, I think it's going to deliver what you want. I am slightly aggrieved to give it back, and I'm trying to find an excuse to take it on some driven shooting before I have to send it back to Browning. But the Maral is definitely a rifle which I think has pushed straight pulls in a slightly different direction. We've seen a lot of rifles doing pretty much the same thing for quite a few years now, and this is pleasantly surprising. And if you haven't had a chance to shoot one, either go and get yourself one or find somebody who has one, get yourself down on a range and see if you can let off a box or two, because I think you'll find yourself burning a lot of ammo just with the pleasure of firing it.
Well, that's it for this week. Thanks for watching. Please like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. And if you're not a member of BASC, it's time to join now. BASC, looking after your sport, looking after you.